Hey peeps, welcome to Heart Talks. This is a big show today because not only is it in my home, but it's because who I've got. This is Andrew Robson, and we met at the Sasquatch conference, and we connected very quickly. We know we're kindred spirits, and I've been lucky enough to have him here in my home here for a couple of hours, and you can imagine the chatter that has been going on, and I'm so excited. So I just want to say that your skulls inspired me at the conference when you were up there and showing off your skulls. I spoke to you and the skulls with my intuition and said if there was a message that the skull would need to come to me, that I was not going to go to it. And the next day we're sitting there at the outdoor area, and he picked up a skull and turned right around and handed it right to me. And so I knew that he had heard my message, and so did the skull. So that was perfect and right in alignment with that whole conference, because it was magical. And Andrew's talk is just amazing, and I want to just get right to it because he has the most amazing stories to tell. And thank you so much for coming over.
Thank you. It's a real privilege to be in your space, and be around your loving presence is truly an honor. And
thank you.
Everyone at the event at the Spiritual Sasquatch Conference this year was really full of the wisdom and giving the messages. It was a very beautiful bonding experience with a lot of people, especially you and I and a few other people that had this sort of this past life connection almost.
That's right.
I think a lot of people who are called to events like that are all connected. We're all in a wavelength on a grid, and we all kind of meet each other at divine moments and bring these sort of shows together, so
yeah.
It's an honor to tell any kind of messages I can.
Well, and your story is so incredible, and it starts at a very early age, and I just want to get right into it, and let's talk about your earliest of awakening moments, because that was pretty awesome.
Okay, yeah. The very first experience that happened to me was actually when I was in my mother's stomach. I stopped growing at first, and then my heart flickered and stopped, and it came back after they did an anointing and praying on me. So I feel like that was the first spiritual happening. Like, it shows that prayer works. Right. And so that was the number one opener to me. And I had been heard about that all my life from my family and everything. And then when I was 4 years old, I drowned in a pool. And when I was under the water, I was looking facing down, and the light came from beneath and opened up as if it was like a doorway. And I saw the tunnel that everyone always talks about, and there was like clouds in front of it. It was like looking into a sunset from beneath the water. Wow. And these beams of light, of like peach and white light, and all these were kind of coming out of the clouds. And I noticed that when these beams of light would touch me, the more I could feel them on my body, suddenly I felt them just go right through me. Pretty soon I felt as if these beams of light were no longer touching a physical self. They were going through a spiritual self. Mm-hmm. And that's when I realized there was other beings present. I could sense their energy. I could see their forms. And these bubbles came up, just like bubbles that would be in water naturally. But when they got to my face, they opened up like little screens, like as if a mirror, like behind of a mirror. And I saw these glimpses of reality, of ultra realities, of different dimensions, of mystery, especially mysteries that are on the planet right now. And they also showed me war, which I didn't understand. I only remembered that years later when I started to hear about it. As if to tell me, yes, these things are real, just as these mysteries are real. You are going to have to go through an earth school that involves, a lot of heartache. But that's a part of the awakening, is sharing that with people and allowing people to build and bridge those experiences.
So at 4 years old, you got that message and you were able to comprehend.
Oh, yeah, I could see it and I felt it. Then as years went by afterwards, I put the dots together. I'm like, oh, right. I see what that meant.
Right.
I know what that's trying to say. So,
right.
So during my experience, when I was seeing these visions, one of the things I remember seeing was Stonehenge, and that I got this psychic knowing that anything that you could make up about these places, it's all real, because our finite minds and the matter that they're made up of, it's all just a buffering system. It's all just made for you to forget anyway. It's not. So anything that we feel is spiritual and connect with, that's where the divine is. So any of these ancient constellation charts or any of these shamanic sites, it's all about taking that power and love that they actually had in their existences and bring that to everyone else. And so the war and the pain makes sense afterwards. It all kind of comes together. So in my near-death experience, I saw these screens, I saw these visions, and they followed it with this showing of the reason why we come down here. And I got this major impression that we're here to learn, and any possible avenue of love you can get to. That's why there's so much hatred and so much, oh, you're this color, or you choose that, or you choose. It's all judging about what. When we all breathe, we all drink water, we all wish that the water was clean, we all wish that the food was pure, we all wish that the forests were still here. So the fact that those things are not right, that's why I saw that in the near-death experiences, to show. Years later, you're going to be able to relay that to people. So the reason why we're here, that I was shown, was come down here and experience. It's like a Nintendo game, really. You're this higher perspective, and you're putting yourself into this. It's smaller than you, much smaller than you. But you put all your might and power into it, and you have to go through all these levels. And once in a while, you make a mistake, and you hit something wrong, and game's over, and you have to redo it all over again. So that's what these people are learning, who are killing and doing all of these bad decisions, not universal truth decisions, but decisions that are about negative subjects. It just causes you to have to come do it back. You have to do it all over. That's why when I see people on death row or in prison or whatever, I just pray for them. Just say, God bless you, God be with you, because you need to learn that. It's not about you need to be punished for that. Maybe in our dimension it is good to have some punishment for those things. But in reality, it's more of you have to evolve spiritually to be able to get to the next level of universal truth. So if you don't have that, you have to learn it. So you come down to these dimensions where there's beauty and horror, and you have to bridge them and heal through the beauty, heal the horror and pain. So that's why I came back from my near-death experiences, to reveal that and to show that the reason why we're here is to come down, to learn to love each other. And that person that you think is so horrible is probably your soulmate. That's what I was shown too. It's very powerful. Is that the person that does the worst in your eyes and your heart, takes you the longest to get over, they're soulmates on the other side. Because who would you want to tell you have something wrong with you, or you'd want someone you love to teach you. So you say, well, if it's going to be someone who does something like that to me in a life, I want it to be you, because I love you, and we're going to work through this soul contract. So, and then you get to lives where you're doing nothing but helping people up the ladder. you're doing and sacrificing yourself just so people smile, just so people are okay. So that's when you realize, I've got it. It may not be perfect, but you're definitely going up that ladder of evolution. And the near-death experience was definitely meant for that, is divine, universal truth bestowed.
Wow. Wow. It's quite amazing that a 4-year-old can comprehend. So this is what proves that it opens up that ancientness of you, or that soul source, or whatever, that you could understand that. And I'm sure at 4 years old you didn't go around telling all your friends.
Oh no. And in fact, I put a lot of it away, and it came to me later when I'd seen it, because only the things about the orbs, I saw these orbs in that experience as well, and I would still see those. So that's one of the connecting factors.
Oh.
And after that experience, I would always see, right after the near-death experience, I had these feelings about people. I could instantly tell if someone just wasn't of a good vibration. Like if someone came into my life, I would do my best to try to get them out. If they were toxic to my family or my people, I would strive so hard to create balance. And that caused me to be a very emotionally abused person, allowing darkness to always control my life, telling me how bad you're just never going to amount, or anything like that, those kind of things. And finally I broke away. And I was so blessed to be able to have first the near-death experience, which gave me that sort of psychic premonition about people. And also I would see this rainbow effect, and I see it now, even today. I see, like 20/20, most of the time I have perfect vision, but if I let my eyes do a certain, it's like, I don't know if everyone else can do this, but I can suddenly see this like layer in front. It's still perfectly visible to everything else, but it's there. And I think that's the veil that's between the dimensions that I've just been able to touch on. And these beings that come to me in there, I've been able to see since I was a child, which I call guides. They're rainbow beings. That's what I call them, because they look like silhouettes of a person. Right. But just totally covered in this wavy, like when you're seeing a heat wave. Yes. But also the under of a shell. The inside of an oyster shell has that rainbowy effect. Yeah. That's how they look. And they've been with me, guiding me ever since that near-death experience. And they've told me, of course, before. And so those things started happening, and I started to have those effects. And it just made me love people more. It made me more universal. It made me I wanted friends and family and life. I saw the universal bridge in everything after that. And so I couldn't comprehend certain things, but they would come in my life and like, oh, that's what that meant when I saw that in there. Like when I started to get into studying like Loch Ness Monster and all that, it's because I'd seen those in my vision, that those beings are real and that they are following the quantum physics. That a lot of these prehistoric beings, when that part of the shamanic change, when the earth changed, it was almost like pieces and portals and different fabrics of dimensions, they all shifted. And so now and then we'll see these things cross through the doorways. And it's very, very powerful to know that, all of these mysteries that people say, they're real. They're real. And if you work with it the right way, it won't scare you. It's an easy thing. And so yeah, I did slowly throughout my life come to total terms with my near-death. And it led me to really be able to work with people and see people for who they are.
Right. And when did you start using the word shaman?
I started using the word shaman when I was a late teen. I started to research ancient people who were spiritual. And because I wanted to know, who are my ancestors that thought like me? That I can't be wrong for viewing things in such a universal, loving way, that it doesn't take much to be a good person. Follow that golden truth that sort of breathes in you, and you're good. But I also felt like I had spiritual gifts not everyone was bestowed with. It was my gift. And so I wanted to know in my ancestors who was like that. So I started researching, and I found the word druid and shaman and medicine people and things like that. And I resonated with that. I resonated with the fact that each place on the planet has a spiritual person, a very spiritual, and they're so humble, and they want to help people, and they want to heal people. It's almost like you went through all these lives as a caterpillar, hurting and learning lessons, and then you get to this one life and you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I want to help you. I want to love you. I want to rise the flower from you and give water to that, you know. So it really is, the shaman is the word I use sometimes, but it's really a spiritual person, a person who chooses to hear their gifts they're given. And people can do it through art and through everything. I mean, people think spiritual gifts have to just be a spiritual phenomenon, but it really isn't. It's smiling at someone in the store that's having a bad day. They could remember that for the rest of their life, that glance. Right. So it really is, it's just coming into your own universal power.
You know what I find interesting? These humans on this planet don't think that being nice to their own family counts as outreach.
Exactly. Yeah, they somehow, I think what it is the eras of abuse and pain. They make it so you see another person that used to have that, or you, that shows the same light that your candle used to have, that your spirit used to glow in, maybe only for a few years because of what they had to endure or what they were taught. They don't want you to have that. They see that beautiful light. It's like Selena, we were talking about earlier, right. This singer Selena. That light is so powerful that certain people have it, and the darker souls that haven't evolved totally yet see that and they're triggered by it. Like, I don't want you to have that light because I feel I deserve it, or I in my heart want to be that light too. Or I know that I never could get to that. I feel like I could never get to it, so you can't have it either. And so it was difficult. There's a lot of learnings that come in through life, having gifts that we do, of hearing people you love deeply tell you that's not real. So you have to remember that the love links you, and you can walk away and remember that I can link up to you through sending you love. I don't have to let your words tell me how I need to follow my chart, my soul path.
Right. You know? We've been sharing our stories, and they're, you know, when you get to this stage, you can look back at your challenges, and we're not like, oh, poor me. We're like, yes, I had this tremendous challenge and I made it through it. And we know that is part of bringing out, you know, what is within us. And I always want to express to my audience at Heart Talks that, you know, if you're having some personal challenges, and a lot of times it's with your own blood family, please just keep walking forward and just keep being your own light and being your own self. Just keep trying to find that, because that is far more important than trying to make amends where it's probably not going to happen.
Exactly.
And I'm sorry that we have to say that over and over and over again, but with every guest, we have the same challenges that, you know, their challenges are different. We're all unique, but they're just heart-wrenching. And it really, you know, when you have a purpose, the way we have found ours, you just keep walking through those. You don't let it stop you. Exactly. And you make it. And for those people who you can no longer be around because the energy is too low or too chaotic or whatever, you just send your love to them and wish them well.
Exactly.
And that's all, really, simply, that's all you have to do. You really don't have to play with that ball anymore. You can just set it aside. So
exactly.
Well, so then when does you know, that you've got the story about the books, and they're kind of cool stories, because one of the things that it shows is how we play with the universe.
Exactly.
Which is another thing we've been talking about today, is the universe loves it whenever you go ahead and play.
So true.
And they were playing with you with some books, and a lot of people have these stories. So if you want to just share quickly a little bit about that, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, well, books have always been sign bearers for me. I think because I, as a child, would fall asleep with books about, like, my favorite was the treasures that they'd find underneath the ocean. I had this big book of, like, beautiful color images of the things that people would find under the ocean. So books always inspired me as a child and got me to where I need to be in my own self, comforted me. So Spirit, God, the universe, they all knew that. They're like, okay, yeah, we're going to work with him through that. So when I was 12, I went to a school in Idaho. And I was going through a lot of challenges at the time. So this school really kind of gave me a breather. And I was reading a lot while I was at this school. And I was in the library one day, and I'd finished the book I was reading, which is The Secret Garden. I'll never forget that. It's a very influential book as well. I have a thing with keys and secret doors and all that kind of stuff too. So, but I got this book called Mundahoy, the Borneo Witch Doctor. And the book is about a Borneo witch doctor who is raised by her grandmother, spiritually teaching her all the ways of the medicine of their people, of their time. And I learned their creation stories and their names for certain spiritual things and their superstitions about rainbows and birds and all that. And so I really bonded with this book, and it's a beautiful book just about how her life story progresses. And in the book, it shows pictures in black and white of her items that she used during her shaman rituals and her magical ceremonies and healings. Most of her witch doctor stuff was not about conjuring up some spirit. It was about asking healing from what they term nature spirits to give healings to people. So I was really drawn into her spirituality and how she used hers for the better good and all that. So when I took this book home with me back to Oregon from Idaho, this was about a year later. I was in school in Oregon. I went to a private school at the time, and a kid came up to me, saw me reading that book, and it gives me chills thinking about it, because he goes, "Where'd you get that book?" And I said, "Oh, I brought it from Idaho." He opens it and he points to a page and he goes, "There's my mom." And she's a little girl in the picture sitting right next to the witch doctor and all the other people. So he goes on to tell me that the missionary family that took the witch doctor around, Mundahoy, around all these places in the United States when she came here for a book tour when that book came out, promoting her story, she knew her. Her father was the one that took the witch doctor around to all these places. So it was the universe using different time, different states, different levels to just show me a major synchronicity. I mean, how do you find a book in a library in another state, bring it home with you, and a kid in your school is directly connected to it?
That's just amazing.
So, and right when I put the book down, talking to the boy about it, right in front is the mother. She walks into the room because it's time for everyone to be picked up for school. So at the time, it struck me slowly building up to how big that really was. Like, what a gift that truly is.
Right.
And so what happened is she said, "Well, since you're so into it, I'm going to bring her items that were gifted to our family when she went back to Borneo. All her shamanic items, her witch doctor items, we're going to bring for your book report." So I just reliving it in my head makes me all excited because how does that something happen? Right. And when she brought those items in, I had been reading them in the book for a year and reading all her creation stories and getting into this woman's story. And here it is in my hands, these ancient items, these ancient ritual items that she used for healing for the greater good. And that was powerful. So when I put these items on, I felt christened. I felt like I was being blessed. I mean, I've been baptized a couple of times in my life, and I love it. I think it's so beautiful, whatever you're feeling. The cleansing is so important. And this was one of them. This was a spiritual moment. And I've had a few christenings like that where the books led me to things that it shaped my whole reality.
Right.
And a few years later, I got a book by Sylvia Browne, the spiritual teacher, and I had no idea where that was going to lead me. But I ended up going to Mexico with Sylvia and having all these personal moments with her as a friend.
This is a beautiful story of his relationship with Sylvia Browne. I'm hoping that you guys know who that is.
Yeah.
She was very popular.
Oh yeah, definitely. And she had a lot of controversy. Like, people were so mean to her.
Yeah.
And there's so much negativity about her, but really she is the real deal. Like, I've seen her heal people in front of me. I've seen people have life-changing moments. So I knew that when I was in her presence, I was in the presence of someone very spiritual and very high, giving me some kind of wisdom that I needed. And
right.
so she told me that that was all for my spiritual upbringing, for my evolution to get to. And when I spent all this time with Sylvia, she told me it's because you've had past lives in Borneo and other places like that. And she opened up all this truth to me about my near death and about the choice. She told me it was a choice. I was wanting to stay in the other side, in heaven, in the other realms. I didn't want to come down here because I knew how powerful it would really be. And so Sylvia clarified so much to me, and she told me some revelations I will never forget. And one of the things she told me, it was very powerful, is she said, every one of my lives, I was spiritual. She goes, you have never chosen a life here on this planet. We were just a person with no belief system. She said, you've always been a monk or a shaman or an aboriginal in the dream time, or, you know, a Native American storyteller, or she said, or you chose lives where you had really intense moments. Like, she said, you were in the Queen's Navy and you did get stuck on an island when your ship went down, and you did the whole creating a raft and saying to the universe, I'm going to risk this. And so I have this affinity with water and the ocean and energy because I lived through it. So, and she said, the reason I'm weird about water I can't see in the bottom of is because in one of my lives, I was a warlock in the witch trials and I was drowned. They thought, oh, a devil won't drown, so we'll just put him in this water. And I drowned, of course. Oh, so there's a bittersweet thing with water, and it's psychic energy that I hold.
Right.
And Sylvia just revealed so much to me that's in my heart. And the last thing she said to me when we were getting our photo taken together, she grabbed my hand like this. And I've never told anyone this. This is so special to me. Sylvia, I know you're watching. Like, she told me, she goes, when I go, you're going to be one of the next ones. Oh. And when she said it to me, I went like this, me? Yeah. And before I could get the answer out of it, like more detail, her husband came in and took the pictures, and my session with her was over at the time, and she was getting really sick at that point. So just hearing that my mission is to do that, and she told me, your purpose is to be a healer. She told me flat out, healer. So Mundahoy was a healer from Borneo. I got her book, being christened by her, then by Sylvia, by all these other spiritual teachers. It was definitely me becoming a healer. I needed their wisdom.
Right.
So it was powerful.
Wow. So, like, you're not normal in any way.
Nope. Nope. I figured that one a long time ago.
I like it.
Yep.
Well, okay. And, your whole journey with Sylvia is, I think that was kind of destined, because it wasn't just like one visit with her. You really bonded with her. And I have a few peeps out in Facebook world who also had great love and respect for her. And, wow, I think that's really cool. She inspired me a great deal. And,
well, one of the stories that means a lot to me is right after she passed away, her people contacted me and said, we wanted you to know this, Andy. This is something special. When she just crossed to the other side, when she left the physical body, she always made a joke in her lectures about what she'd bring in her purse, because you never know what you're going to need over there, you know? And they were going through her purse, and the first thing they pulled out of her purse over her vessel that done so much work for people was my photograph with me and her together, during our reading.
Oh, man.
So I have this great love and respect for my path that I've been shown. All the signs that come, it just led me to being a really clear person. I want to love everyone. I want to heal people. I don't want to be a part of the heartache of this Mother Earth. I want to be a part of the healing. I want to be a part of the love, the growing, creating unity. And so these spiritual teachers throughout my life giving me these gifts of love, friendship, and these little things that I can take and foundation on and use as my own spiritual fortress.
Right.
It means a lot.
And your relationship with Sylvia, did it take you, what was the next step after that? After her passing, how did that, your pal was gone. I mean, how did you compensate for that?
That was really difficult. I have to say it was very difficult, actually, because when your spiritual teacher dies, it's almost like those little weekly wisdoms you get from them, just hearing that it's all in order, their little premonitions they give out, it always keeps you on track.
Right.
So that was kind of interesting to let go of. But at the same time, I felt her around me. I felt the energy, and I knew what I'd been gifted. I know what it was all for. And the messages are the most important thing, about we're here to learn, to love, and to find unity together, and so that's the main teaching she gave me, really, is that go forward. And the next step, this is cool, it has to connect to my near-death experience. When I have my near-death experience, I saw these symbols. And this is a part of my readings I do now, as I see symbols around people and I can read them and tell you a lot of things about your aura and about yourself, what you're doing, things that I'm picking up from your guides and everything. And it always is about these sacred symbols, and they give me insights. It's almost like your signature. I can read it, the energy from it,
Yes.
So these sacred symbols started appearing to me in my near-death experience. Along with these beings of light and the screens that would open. And all these symbols were around, meant different things. When I was 15, I went on a walk with my aunt, and she took me to a sacred site where all the symbols are there. And all the ones I saw in my near-death experience were on these rocks in British Columbia.
In British Columbia?
Yeah, when I was 15. So that all was a synchronicity. And then with Sylvia, one of the last questions I was able to ask her was, what do these petroglyphs mean for me? Why am I so hypnotized by them? Why do they lead me to all these people and moments? She told me it's because I was a high priest in my past life, and I connected to that site, the one in British Columbia in Bella Coola, and that I am meant to do it in this life too. You're meant to finish what you didn't complete in that life. And she says that the sacred symbols are the real blueprint of the spiritual teachings of our ancestors, what they wanted us to bring in now. So what she said to me is, bring the ancient truth and bring it into the now with universal love and justice, letting all the dark human man-made views fall away, just that earth mother energy that flows and heals. Bring that through these symbols. So that's the next step, is I study petroglyphs and their spiritual meanings and their preservation and telling people how to work with them. Do not touch them. Their oils on your hands will go into them and over thousands of years will cause damage. Never step on them. When there's one you want to take a picture of or something, go around. Or just don't, it's not yours. It's not yours to go to. Don't touch it. And the symbols are there as the ancient story for us. Like, here's what Grandpa wants you to know. And I sit so many times now and I think, my grandparents, my grandma and Grandpa Robson are both gone, and my grandma and Grandpa Danielson, they're in their 80s, and these messages they give me how do I use that for the greater good? How do I bestow? No one's perfect. Everyone has issues, but how do I get that message that they taught me about birds and flowers and planting things and growing and music and art and all the beautiful things that sort of are from the universe, from creation? How do I put that out into the world through these petroglyphs? So I've been going to all these sites and getting the messages from the shaman spirits and from the elders and just talking and networking, and it's taking me all around the Pacific Northwest and the Four Corners and all that. I have all these tours coming up where I'm going to see all these new petroglyph sites, and I've been to so many already that it's just, when I do my readings with people, when I'm doing a psychic reading, what I do is I always see these symbols. So I know that the symbols are a part of my mission, and Sylvia's wisdom was about me being able to follow them to the next step.
Right. Right. Okay. Wow, that is so cool. Okay, so now the skulls start happening in your life. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, the crystal skulls are a very powerful part of my awakening. I mean, my awakenings happened all my life.
Yeah.
But the crystal skulls came in 2011. My friend, Reverend Cindy Norlinger, she taught me about the crystal skulls. I never even knew about them before. Like, totally never even heard of them. And she brought me this gorgeous one to be around. She had this little gathering, and so we all went there. She brought it around and set it in my hands. I remember feeling the most powerful energy from this thing. And I knew. And Sylvia had talked about them actually the year later after that. When I asked her, I was able to talk to her about that too.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, Cindy, my friend Cindy, she brought these crystal skulls into my life. And I was transfixed by them because I saw all these shamans and healers and medicine people using these. And I loved that people honored it because it was our shell. When the shell rolls up on the beach and it's glittering and it's gorgeous and it's art, that's what your skull is. Like, I feel the skull is not a negative symbol. Like, all these bands and showing teeth, kind of scary faces,
yes.
you know, that's all fear.
Yeah.
Because our transition in the spirit world is very beautiful. It's like a hermit crab or another kind of being where you leave something behind. And so the skull is really just showing what you're made of. And your very small moment here in this dimension. So, and also it represents the merging of the physical and the spiritual, the Mother Earth and the body, because you're creating a sculpture out of pieces of the Mother Earth. Her wisdom is stored in crystals. You know, a lot of New Age people and a lot of spiritual psychics and everything, we all agree that stones have energy. And so different ones have different powers that you can use in your life. And the crystal skulls, I was just so drawn to them, I wanted my own. So I went on this big journey of trying to find ones that call. And a shaman, I reached out to some people, and I was led to this shaman in Sedona. And he gifted me, I think now he lives in the Four Corners, but he gifted me this ancient jade skull from Mongolia that was found in a jade tomb.
Do you want to go get it real quick?
Yeah, I'll go get it. And
I've had these skulls in my house.
yeah.
I've had Andrew and the skulls in my house. I'm so excited.
And this skull is very, very ancient. Yeah, it's roughly dated 3500 BCE. So that's before Christ and before a lot of these other things started coming. So it represents the beginnings of the spiritual ladder, when people were all emerging and awakening in their own things to get to the points where they were with all these other teachings. So, and the Mongolians, when they did tests on all these, they figured that they had some sort of techniques that most people didn't know about. Like, with the carving techniques and the way they did things is very, very skilled. And the energy, people loved this skull. When I took it to the lecture, the throngs of people were coming around, just like touching it and holding it. And I could see the love and the hope that everyone put into them. And to know that it was sitting in a tomb for thousands of years asleep, And now it's reawakened, going from hand to hand, touching all this energy and soaking up all these truths. It's just a part of the mission. It's a part of what I'm doing. So when I give my readings and stuff, sometimes I'll use these around me just to give me insights, and I'll get major visions from them. And so yeah, it was from an ancient tomb in the river district of Mongolia, on the side of some kind of like dam or something was flooding, and they excavated all this, and there was thousands of items found, millions probably, and they just went to various different museums and private collections, and this one found its way to me. And so I deeply honor that I was gifted such a treasure, such a beautiful gift.
Right. At the conference, when Andrew was up there speaking, and he had the skulls, and I had never had an experience like that before. And I said, well, if there's a message for me, then the skull must come to me, because I'm not going to it. And the next day, I was sitting behind Andrew, and he picked the skull up. He had it in his hands for a while, and then just like he was supposed to, he turns right around and handed it right to me. And I'm like, that's what I was waiting for.
Definitely.
And so I sat there and I held it for a minute, and I went bam, and I was holding an infant in my hand. I was sitting there caressing an infant's head. And it just lasted a second, but it was very powerful. And I have yet to be revealed exactly why I felt that infant, but I'm sure eventually it will come to me. And I thank you so much for giving me that opportunity, because I'm just the kind of person that just needs a good zapping every now and then.
Me too. That's what happened to me the first time I saw them, is it did the same thing. And they're powerful, and they're working on a grid. They work with the ley lines. They're somehow connected to that. The shamans knew the grids and the ley lines and the portals and the vortexes. They knew all these natural openings, and they sort of connected these things through like this invisible cord of energy that sort of connects this collective consciousness to all the different skulls.
Wow.
So when you have different crystals or different carvings that are of crystal or amethyst or any other kind of stone that soaks in energy, they'll record it. So when you find an ancient skull and you set your little ones that are just you found on your own around it, they speak to each other. And the energy and wisdom in this will be given to that. And that's why people love being around these so much, is because they can draw it in themselves, as well as healings and stuff have happened. And like my aunt and uncle, they were photographing it, and they got all these orbs around it, and like lights and red light, like a red aura was over it, like a protective angel or something. It was really neat, very neat.
Well, that's a gift right there.
Yeah,
my
definitely,
gosh,
definitely.
Wow. Well, and so kind of what do you see you doing with these skulls in the future? How do you kind of see you're going to work with that?
Well, I take them around. I feel like I'm a caretaker for it. It will have another one when I'm gone. It will be put to hand to hand to hand. It has been for many people, and it'll be with more. I feel like I'm just one to take it to the places it needs to go. I feel like these little gatherings and these little shops and these little spiritual groups, it needs to be seen. There's energy in it that needs to see you and feel you and send love out to you. Because these ancient sacred societies that were goddess based and worshipped like the flower energy of life, they would always put energy into these things, and that, you know, all the pendants, all the things were always so spiritual, always symbolic.
Yes.
And so the symbols and the energy all gravitate outward and go towards people that need it. So me holding this skull and taking it around, it's like when I give my readings, I use my psychic ability with my guides and with my other workers that I'm networking with spiritually on the other side, and loved ones and all of the high council and all that. But what gives a little boost of energy sometimes is when this is around me, or when the person's holding it, or when it just gives a good vibration, you know, and it's really meant for a higher purpose, that is kind of growing.
Right. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Well, okay. And you're writing a book right now.
Yeah.
Just about done with that. Yeah. Let's talk about that for a second.
Well, a lot of people remember years ago me mentioning a book, and it's taken so many different morphings and so many turns. Like, it's literally changed format like 4 times. And I deeply apologize, but at the same time, it's spirit. Like,
right.
Creator will want you to do certain things, and he'll let you know when you're not writing a certain way.
Right.
So when I got all of this, I'm not an analytical person about scientific stuff or any kind of thing. People are gifted with that stuff. God gave them the right for that. They should be sharing that with the world.
Right.
It's not my mission.
Right.
So when I got all that out of the way, and I started to just speak from the heart and write my story through, it's a book about the petroglyphs and the sacred symbols and how they can help you and how the messages will lead you, and the signs that I was shown, how to follow those signs and how to see the symbols in your own life. You know, how to follow these, connect these dots. Your spirit is like a constellation pattern, and these symbols that you have will come to you. Like, let's just say you're really into the yin yang, or you're really feeling that Ankh symbol from the ancient. There's a reason why you're drawn to those symbols, and I would look into it, into your past lives, or get a reading from someone or me about it, and it will make it all makes sense and come full circle because of the energy that they hold.
Right.
You know? So.
Right. And then are you like going to little places and having people sign up for readings and stuff like that?
Yeah, I do. My website, SasquatchRevelations.com, people can go onto my website, or you can look me up on Facebook, Awen Robson or Andrew Robson. Awen's my spiritual name. Mm-hmm. And you'll find me and my information. And my book will be released within this year, by the end of the year. So definitely check on my website for it. It'll be up.
Yeah.
And other radio shows and stuff that I'll be doing. Any appearances or anything will be up there.
Right. And we didn't even hardly talk about Sasquatch.
Oh, they're around too. And they followed me my whole life as well. So it's like, the thing about Sasquatch and those beings, to put a small note on it, is that there are many mysteries that are not mysteries to some hearts. They're like the next door neighbor, because your heart's open, you believe, and you give that being or that mystery credit, and its beauty and its powers is respected by you. It'll open up you to all of that. Especially if you have psychic gifts or you have someone around you that has psychic gifts, you can have these shared experiences.
You know what I love? I love the person who's watching this and go, oh, I want to do that.
Yeah, definitely.
That moment right there is a miracle moment. It is a manifesting moment. And I just hope that all these guests that I'm having here are giving you an idea of the possibilities, because we've not been taught that we have these abilities. They've been hidden from us. And as they awaken, you know, it's so great to have a network of people that you can talk to, because, like, you know, I don't usually do people, and it is just so wonderful to have Andrew over, and we've just been talking like there's no tomorrow. And
definitely.
He is leaving for California, so I just got him in at the perfect time.
Divine timing.
Absolutely. What would you say to people who want their abilities to kick in? What would you say to them?
In your heart, what is the one thing that calls, that makes you, what's the first thing you think about and the last thing you think about before you wake up and go to bed? What are those things that call to you? Whether it's animals or nature or whatever hobby is consuming your spirit, whatever one that seems to connect you with people, choose that. It will open your whole psychic source up. And also look into your ancestors, find out where your blood came from, and research the ancient truths and legends and creation stories and spiritual beings from that area, or the sacred area that you hold in your heart. If you don't really connect to where you're from, and this other space is just everything you're for, go there in your spirit, stay there, live there in your spirit, no matter where you're on the planet. that's where you are. And these impressions will come to you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And really, you know, you get to choose who you hang out with.
Definitely.
And I would say, you know, be wise about that. And it is sometimes it's very hard to let go of people in your life who no longer serve your light.
Exactly.
Okay. And this is where you must put yourself first. I know that's difficult at times, and especially for mommies and daddies who have little kids. There's no time to even breathe. But there is, and we have been taught that it's selfish in a bad way to put yourself first. And that is more like being selfless. And we're saying, no, it is time to be about self. It is time to unleash that ancientness. It's happening to me, and symbols are happening, and people are happening, and I have these wonderful, I mean, since I've had Heart Talks, I have chosen the most incredible people to hang around with now. It is my choice because this is important to me. I know I have a mission. I know that I am to be seen.
You followed those steps.
Yes.
And you connected those dots.
Absolutely. So, and just like at the conference, we felt such family there.
We did.
There was no coincidence who was there and who was not there. And I've been to conferences before where you don't turn into family.
Oh yeah.
But this one was definitely, and because I think of the nature that we all were such loving, had loving attitudes towards all the forest people, all the elements, and so it was a. I think it was a vortex of new earth energy, really.
It really
what
was.
we created. So,
it really was.
Well, you guys, I hope you've enjoyed this as much as I have. I'm enjoying it way more than you are. And hopefully, we'll have Andrew on again. Once he gets in California, we'll see what his gig is out there and the lives and hearts that he's touching over there. So thank you.
Thank you.
I love you.
I love you too.
From my heart to yours, namaste.
Namaste.
All righty.